Hi, everyone. Welcome to the CASI Charter Chat. Um, I'm going to read you, next slide, please. I'm going to read you the caveat just so that you know, in order to have ADA access, we read everything that is on the slides. So the information contained in this presentation is provided as a reference only. Charter schools and chartering authorities are encouraged to review the laws and regulations and consult with their own legal counsel regarding the application to their specific situations. Next slide, please. So this is our agenda for the charter chat. We're going to cover introductions. We'll have some previous charter chat questions. We will do the current updates for the legislative. We'll have some hot topics in both fiscal and no, this is not July. This is August. We'll also go into breakout rooms and we will have some Q&A. Next slide, please. So I am Michelle Johnson. I'm with the Santa Clara County Office of Education. Uh, oh, the materials are not in the folder. Uh, I will have to fix that in a moment once I'm done with all the introductions. Uh, we have Los Angeles County Office of Education, and we also have the San Diego Unified School District. We have support from our California Charter Authorizing Professionals. And I would like to make a wonderful introduction. Rick Reyes, he is now the new director for the Charter Schools Division for CDE. And I'm going to turn time over to Rick so I can go fix the other item.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Hello, everyone. My name is Rick Reyes. I am the new incoming director of the Charter Schools Division at CDE. I know I've met and chatted with many of you here. I've been on the state board staff for the past year working on charter school issues. And then prior to that, I was an education programs consultant in the Charter Schools Division back when CASI first started. And so I am very thrilled to be back at CDE and working with this fantastic team in the Charter Schools Division. Feels a lot like coming home back to my first office family when I first came to the CDE. So thank you very much. We are here at the Charter Schools Division, charters at cde.ca.gov. So please reach out if there's ever anything we can be helpful for. All right. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Rick, and thanks for the notification on the information. It is now in the folder. So next slide, please. So previous charter chat questions. So some questions did come up in the July charter chat. So the first one was, do administrators in charter schools need credentials? Well, the easy answer to that is it depends. By law, no, charter school administrators are not required to have a credential. But it may be required in the charter school's charter. So you do need to go back and take a look at the charter to determine what credentials those administrators might need. They might need to have a teaching credential, but they wouldn't need to have an administrative credential, but you have to look to see what credentials are required by that charter. The next question is, what are the teacher credential requirements in charter schools? Well, that one's easy. It's the same as in any district school, or there are no flexibility or grandfathering anymore. That expired July 1st of 2025. The next question is, what is the teacher-student ratio for TK, or for transitional kindergarten? That ratio is now 1 to 10. The 24 rule was last year. This year it is 20. So you need to have one adult for every 10 students. Next slide, please. So we'd like you to make sure you take the time to rename yourself. For example, you have your name and your organization. That helps us as we're going through our breakout rooms or as we're looking at who's wanting to share. So we know where you're coming from. So I can see that Chris Armentrout just has his name. He doesn't have, oh, thank you, Chris. You are fabulous. So yeah, make sure that you add that you're from San Francisco, like Chris just did. So take the time right now to add your organization if you have the opportunity. Next slide, we're going to do some legislative updates, and I am going to turn this now over to Dave and Tom from CCAP.
Well, good morning. I think I'm first up for this. There's a lot going on. Let me first give a little bit of general background so you understand when we cover each of the bills. The legislature returned from summer recess on August 18th. Many bills are in the Assembly or the Senate appropriations suspense file. To move forward, these bills need to move off the suspense file by this Friday, August 29th. If a bill is retained in suspense, it's dead for the year, or it could become a 2-year bill. If it, in fact, is released from suspense, it has until September 12th to be passed by both houses. And if it is then passed, it then goes to the governor for his approval or veto. So the first one is AB 84, School Accountability, Office of Education Inspector General, School Financial and Performance Audits, Charter School Authorization, Oversight, Funding, Operations, Networks, Contracting, Data Systems, Local Education Agency Contract, and Background Checks. This bill is one of the two charter school bills that are out there. The other one is SB 414, which we'll talk about at the end. There is and has been intense negotiations. Our understanding is since the beginning of the summer recess. We will see if one or both of those bills are released from suspense and what amendments will be made to either one or both bills. Okay, the next one is SB 640, Local Educational Agency Governance Training. That bill is in the suspense file. The next bill is AB 715, Educational Equity, Discrimination, and Anti-Semitism Prevention. That bill is not moving forward. AB 1264, pupil nutrition, particularly harmful ultra-processed foods, prohibition. That bill is also in the suspense file. Next slide, please. Then we go to SB 48, Immigration Enforcement in School Sites, Prohibitions on Access, Sharing Information, etc. That bill is not moving forward. And then, as we've already talked about, SB 414 is the second charter school accountability bill, school financial and performance audits, chartering authorities, tort liability, educational enrichment activities, and quote flex-based instruction. That bill, as I indicated earlier, is in suspense, and we will see what comes out between SB 414 or AB 84, if one or both, and what amendments might be for each. With that, I pass it back.
Next slide, please. So California Department of Education, or CDE, and the State Board of Education updates. So the Advisory Commission on Charter Schools, or the ACCS, held their meeting on August 12th, 2025, and the agenda included an appeal of the denial of a renewal and the appeal of the denial of an establishment of a charter. Though the next ACCS meeting will be held on October 7th. And so the items that were before the ACCS are now going to be on the next State Board of Education meeting, which will be held September 10th and 11th. Next slide, please. So we are now moving into the hot topic section of our presentation. We're going to have program hot topics and fiscal hot topics. So we're going to start by going into program. Next slide, please. And I believe our friend Kimberly Munhank is here from AMARD, or the Analysis, Measurement, and Accountability Reporting Division, and she's going to give us a really quick update on the Dashboard Alternative School Status, or DOS.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Good morning, everyone. So quick update. The State Board of Education in its 2025 Accountability Work Plan oversaw a discussion, update of the criteria necessary for charter schools who apply for DAS status. This does not apply to alternative schools that have DAS per their school type. This only is applicable to charter schools. The discussion did not conclude, and the board is looking forward to continuing the discussion in 2026 to talk about how schools are verified for the criteria of looking at credit deficient students. So that kind of conversation will continue into 2026. Unfortunately, that means that the State Board, the CDE is unable to process any applications or renewals for DAS status. Schools that have existing DAS status that were subject to renewal this year have been provided a courtesy 1-year renewal if they had submitted a renewal. That information has been sent to them. They have email documentation of that additional year, and the DAS list will be updated as necessary. However, again, no new applications can be processed until the State Board takes that action in 2026. So we look forward to them doing so, and we'll be back with any updates as we have them.
Awesome. Thank you, Kimberly. And now I'm going to turn the time over to Tiffany DeGraffenreid from San Diego Unified.
Michelle, your sound is not good.
All right, let me try this again.
Oh,
Can
much
you hear me
better.
now? Yay,
Yes.
thank you, Indra. All right, so now I'm going to turn the time over to our friend Tiffany DeGraffenreid from San Diego Unified to talk about the California Statewide Assignment and Accountability System, or CASAS.
Good morning. Michelle said I can make this as short or long as I would like to. So I will do a brief version, and then at the end of the training today, we always have our little survey. If you'd like to learn more information about CalSAS, please go ahead and enter that into the survey so that we can bring that information to you next time. So the monitoring cycle has just started again as of August 7th. The timeline began August 7th and will end November 14th. The dates in the monitoring cycle are a little bit strange. So this information is from last year. So CBEDS of last year is the data that is used for this monitoring cycle. So as the monitoring authority for the charter schools, you'll review all of the determinations for your charter schools. So at this stage during monitoring, what we usually do is return all of the vacancies that we receive from charter schools and ensure that charters comment on whether or not they were true vacancies during that school year and what action was taken to ensure that they would not be vacancies moving forward. We also ask for additional information documentation for the local assignment options that are used, the determinations that were used. I will have a handy cheat sheet available in the resources after this presentation with all of the different local assignment options and what documentation is required for those local assignment options. The last piece is the course setting that also requires additional documentation. I think this one causes the most confusion. This allows a teacher with a multiple subject credential to teach two or more subjects to the same group of students on the same day, and that's in 5th through 8th grade. But these settings require the monitoring authority to verify the educator's credential, the educator's course schedule, the core groupings, and ensure that it's the same count of students for those core groupings. So I know that's a little bit complicated. It took us a while for our charter schools to understand how those core settings work. And we can go more in depth on any of those items at a later time if anyone is interested in that. And I just found out that Jeff Hartman is also really interested in CalSAS, so I can definitely buddy up with him and we can make it a power CalSAS team. So the last item is the CalSAS user access. I know this works differently for different districts and county offices of ed. So you want to check with your county on whether or not you as a district are in charge of giving your charter schools access to CalSAS, or that's something that the county does for you. So for us, we give our charter schools access and remove access when charter school administrators leave and should no longer have access to CalSAS. So that's something that you should check on and make sure that that's kept up to date as well. And then did anybody have any questions that I might be able to answer? Okay, I think that was 3 minutes-ish.
Yay, thanks, Tiffany. All right, next slide. So I'm going to turn the time now over to Shalou to talk about unaudited actuals.
Thank you, Michelle. Here we just want to provide a reminder about the upcoming deadline for the submission of unaudited 24-25 unaudited actuals. All charter schools are required to report their unaudited actual financial data for 24-25 using the SECS web financial reporting system. This requirement applies to schools either submitting through the SACS, which is standardized account code structure reporting format, or the charter school alternative form. The deadline for the charter schools to submit their unaudited actuals to their authorizer is September 15, 2025. Once received, the authorizer reviewed the submission and forward them to their respective county offices for review. The county offices then have until October 15, 2025 to submit the finalized form to California Department of Education. Next slide, please. I'll hand it back to Michelle.
All right, thank you. So we're going to move into the breakout rooms, and we have a slideshow link in the chat for us to take notes. Each room gets a different slide. Keep introductions short in the interest of time, but make sure that you introduce any first timers. We'll then come back and report out the highlights to the full group. Next month, because we do pay attention to people's responses in the surveys, next month we're actually going to have our breakout rooms based on subject matter. And so some of the possible topics at this moment are fiscal, because we've heard lots of people want to get together and talk numbers. And so Shalou was actually really happy about that one. Renewal, I've heard annual visits, credential issues in CalSAS, and then some general questions. So, and because this will be based off of topic rather than authorizers versus non-authorizers, we're going to be all mixed up together for next month. And you get to self-select which room you want to go to. But this month, you're going to be randomly placed by authorizer and non-authorizer. So we will see you back here in about 20 minutes. Go for it, Amy.
Sorry, just got it.
All right, we are now back. So I hope everyone had a really good discussion. Normally I would start with me, but I am going to actually go backwards this time, and we'll start with the non-authorizer room to share out.
I'll do it. Sure. We had kind of had an interesting discussion because of the fact that abuse of discretion appeals are back at the state board level. And so without anticipating anything that I could say about the staff and department analysis, it's always I wanted to remind everybody, it's always a department recommendation of the state board, not just our division. It's much bigger analysis than that. But I wanted to remind everybody there's a different frame for that. And the state board is having to recall, this is a different lens. It's not a de novo review. It's not looking at fresh look, 15 elements. It's really very narrow by law. I brought up also that everybody wished there had been regulations past few years when these came up. I reminded everybody that there had been a very extensive process and regulations were drafted for AB 1505 and 1507, and public comment had been taken, and they had been all the way to on the agenda for a January 2021 state board meeting and were pulled at the last minute and killed. So I said that there is some internal discussion now going on about reviving the process of regs. I don't know if that means looking at the original draft or doing something brand new. I'm of the opinion that it's not always good to reinvent the wheel, so at least take into account what was done. There was a lot of work, a lot of partners, a lot of advocates, a lot of legal review, a lot with West Ed helping. And so, it may come back. And I think, in my personal opinion, but of course, I don't know where this is going to go, that would actually help, because a lot of the issues come up based on different interpretations of statute. And that's the whole purpose of regulations, is to eliminate that ambiguity and facilitate a smoother implementation one way or the other, and just make life easier. And so we'll see if that happens. It has been coming up. I just wanted to mention that. And so that was part of the discussion in the room. And it was also noted that sometimes, just like CDE can make a recommendation and the state board can go the other way, sometimes with a district or a county office, there can be a staff report and a different vote at the board level. And in fact, that's part of what one of these is going to be reviewed in September, is in that particular situation. So we'll see how all of it goes. It will be an interesting state board meeting, that's for sure.
Thank you. So, room 4, please.
That's us. We had a few new attendees, so I just wanted to thank them for attending today from San Carlos, Allen Rock, and Madera County. So I don't know who got the word out, but we are glad to have new people. We spent some time talking about the CalSAS process at San Diego Unified and the difference from being in a county as a monitoring authority and being in a district as a monitoring authority. We talked a little bit to Nevada County Office of Education, and they have a lot of expertise in credentialing. So we're definitely going to hit them up maybe to help us out with some presenting later. We talked about the process for assigning users, depending on if you're a district or a county, who the monitoring authority is. And then just recently, over the last couple of years, there is a process for charters to be able to apply directly for credentials for their teachers through the CTC. And so that has helped out a lot of districts as well, or counties as well, to lower their influx of having to do those emergency credentials for charter schools during the CalSAS monitoring process. We talked a little bit about AB 495. I don't know if anybody else wanted to jump in here. Where he's at. Okay. And then also we talked about proposing topics for discussion for next time. And one of them was supporting charter schools with misassignments in CalSAS without being their HR department.
Cool. All right, room 3.
Hi, Beth. Oh, go.
Was that us, Indra? I can't remember.
Nah, you're room 2, Tom.
Okay, sorry.
Steve.
Hi. So in room 3, we also welcomed some new authorizers from Chula Vista Elementary, Mount Pleasant Elementary, and Yolo County. So big welcome to them. We talked about some of the CASI resources and supports that are available, how to get in touch with CASI providers, talking about the webpage on CDE's site where folks can go through and see all the resource pages in there and the prior trainings. Talked a bit about, having the one-on-one trainings, the site trainings, all the different options that are available. We mentioned the new mentoring program that is being launched hopefully soon. So we kind of covered the CASI pieces. And then we talked about the site visit process and how some folks do the site visit process. If it's do you go to a school site once? Do you go more often? How are you looking at different pieces, including governance and monitoring meetings and what's going on with the governing team? And then there was sharing by another county regarding the virtual oversight process. So how do you provide oversight for a virtual charter school with a lot of good information there on how they approach that and what they look at. So I think that's the summary for room 3.
Awesome. Thanks, Deidre. Room 2. So Tom and Indra.
Indra, did you want me to go through the notes, or did you want to?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. So the first topic we had that came up was renewal of a dependent charter school and navigating that. Well, it's kind of been treated like a school of the district, but we know it's a charter, and when the formalities come, how do you navigate that? And one point of reference that was suggested was, it's worth revisiting the petition because as dependent charter schools tend to evolve into looking indistinguishable from schools of the district, sometimes the petition kind of gets forgotten where that stuff was sort of sorted out. So that's one thing. Sometimes you may want to consider a material revision if you realize, well, the way it's working is better than what was in there, if there is a difference, and we want to change that. Indra brought up, because this was a district in LA County, and there was some concern about, well, we wanted to ask the county office, but, we don't want to get sideways if there's a potential appeal on anything in the future. And, with a dependent, you're the board, so maybe there's not an appeal anyway. But just the general premise that Indra shared was, we're perfectly fine advising on process. We're not going to get into the review because that could come back to bite us on appeal. But just to compare notes on process, that's fair game. And then, the other takeaway, we kind of thought this could be a good CASI training topic, because for people with dependent charters, we've addressed the topic in the past, but it may be good for a refresher on it. The second topic that came up had to do with a new charter that's starting up but doesn't yet have its number from the state. And so Megan was there helpfully to give some suggestions on that. But that led to a larger discussion about sort of startup checklists and, especially two big ones often being, is everything in place for the facility to be approved for serving students if it's a seat-based program? And then the big one, of course, being, did the enrollment really materialize? And that led into a discussion about how much they're putting in for PenSec, and are they overstating it based on where things are? And so just those refreshers about monitoring the year 0 to make sure that the school is ready to go when the doors open. And the last item, we had a short discussion on some of the legislative stuff. And Dave, I don't know if you have, the question came up about whatever happened with the verified data. I don't think that was on our list, and I can't remember whether that one just died. And there's a discussion about, well, if the statutory mandate on verified data goes away, authorizers are still free to consider it. There's not mandated to, and how that all works. But I couldn't remember the latest status, Dave, if you happen to know, or if somebody else does.
I think you captured it pretty well. The bill itself didn't move, but the general understanding is it can be used. I do think the state board may also be having conversations, but at this point in time, there is no legislation moving ahead on that issue that I'm aware of.
And
That's
I
it
can
for
pop
us.
in that there's no state board action on verified data moving forward. So just as a heads
Okay.
up and clarity on that.
Thank you, Kim.
Thanks, Kimberly. All right, room 1. We also had some new people. So Jeff, your comment is very well taken. Yeah, we have new friends, and so Charter Authorizing 101 can be provided via Zoom. So we may have to make some of those options available to everyone. We talked about renewals, we talked about CMO fees, and how do we work with finances from the CMO and the local charter. We talked about appeals. We talked about Public Records Act requests, which is everyone's favorite. And finally, we talked about the LCAP reviews. So lots of good topics that we were talking about today. Next slide, please. So as we've said previously, we do love feedback. And that's one of the reasons why we are making an adjustment to our breakout rooms for next month. So we do listen. Please complete our short after meeting survey and share with us your feedback and suggest hot topics for our upcoming charter chat and regional meetings. Actually, I need to change that. It's not a regional hub meeting anymore. They're just our quarterly trainings. So the survey link is there. It's in the chat for you. Next slide, please. You need access. You shouldn't need access. Hold on.
Yeah, it did the same for me as well, Michelle.
All right. Shorten this. Let me see if that.
That means people are trying to take it. That's good, though. Proof that you are.
Try that. Did that one work now? I see responses now. It looks like it's a Google Doc. It should be a survey. I've got response. It does not give access. Hold on. Questions. I thought I did it.
I'm not techie, but I think the recent version requires surveys to be first published so that they can become accessible.
But it is published.
Okay.
It is accepting. Responders, manage. Let's see. How about responders should be anyone with the link. Let's update the link now. Copy responder link. Let's try this again. Try that one.
Good to go.
Yay. We'll try this again.
This is all Michelle's exercise in reverse psychology. She did it on purpose to create the demand, and now more people will respond. She's brilliant.
You know, thank you, Tom. I really appreciate that. All right, so for upcoming CASI events, we do have our monthly charter chat. Our next one will be on the 24th of September. CASI quarterly training. The topic is going to be managing charter closure and non-renewal responsibly. And Tom, you mentioned we should have one on dependent charters. That's the topic in January. So I think we even have the
Great
date
minds.
already. So keep it in we're going to be talking about dependent charters in January. The registration link is now in the chat for you, so you can start setting aside the date for October 17th. Next slide, please. Authorizing 101, Fiscal 101, or the topic of your choice. So yes, we can bring a free training via Zoom, or if you need us to come out and do one on site locally, we can do those who needs additional support. Authorizing 101 can also be tailored to your local topical priorities. So if you truly need more information about dependent charters, we can shift it to focus specifically on dependents. We can pair it with another training if you're having a training for charter schools, or we can even combine your charter schools into this meeting. So please reach out to CASI at cde.ca.gov, and we can do any of those trainings for you. Next slide, please. So one-on-one technical support. If you've got questions, you can contact me. Mentoring support. Deidre already mentioned that the new mentoring program is going to be getting up and running, but talk to Deidre. On-site trainings. Indra can be is the point person for that. You can check out our resource page for all of our contact information and emails. Next slide, please. So I am giving you back 4 minutes. You have the gift of time. How often do you get that? So please contact us at CASI@cde.ca.gov if you have any issues, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks all.